Hello friends, myself Deepali Harchande. Today we are going to start with the English subject. In that we will start with the 2.4 poem, that is Have You Earned Your Tomorrow? Friends, if you like my video, just share, like and subscribe my video. Let's start with the poem Have You Earned Your Tomorrow? The poet has been written by Edgar Guest. Let's see a brief introduction of Edgar Guest. His full name is Edgar Albert Guest. He was born on 20 August 1881 and he was passed on 5th August 1959. He was born in England and was brought to the United States when he was 10 years old. He began his writing career in 1895 at the age of 14. Edgar Guest is known as People's Poet for his simple style and optimistic tone of writing. Guest is an American writer of newspaper and magazines. Actually, he was a British, but he was born in America, so he was known as an American poet who was popular in the first half of the 20th century and became known as the people's poet. This is an inspirational poem. In this poem, the speaker is asking the readers whether they have done anything to improve the life of another human being or not. It is up to you whether you will have a better future or not. Therefore, one should consider one's actions and deeds carefully and plan accordingly for a better future. This famous poem, Have You Earned Your Tomorrow, is likely by Edgar, who was known as the people's poet for his simple, uplifting style of writing poetry and first published in the Detroit Free Press around 1916. There are different versions of the poem around, and it has been attributed to other authors and with other titles such as The Day's Results, The Day's Work, At Day's End, and Is Anybody Happier? These are few poems written by him. Now let's start with the actual poem. Now I'm going to read the poem for you. Have you earned your tomorrow? Is anybody happier because you passed his way? Does anyone remember that you spoke to him today? This day is almost over and its toiling time is through. Is there anyone to utter now a kindly word for you? Next stanza. Did you give a cheerful greeting to the friend who came along, or a churlish sort of howdy and then vanish in the throng? Were you selfish, pure, and simple as you rushed along the way? Or is someone mighty grateful for a deed you did today? Can you say tonight, in parting with the days that sleeping fast, that you helped a single brother of the many that you passed? Is a single heart rejoicing over what you did or said? Does a man whose hopes were fading now, with courage look ahead? Did you waste the day or lose it? Was it well or sorely spent? Did you leave a trail of kindness or a scare of discontent? As you close your eyes in slumber, do you think that God would say, "You have earned one more tomorrow by the work you did today"? Now we will learn about analysis of poem. Have You Earned Your Tomorrows by Edgar Guest presents a number of probing questions to a reader about how they spend their days. In the second half of the poem, the speaker inquires into the reader's actions further. He hopes that everyone does what they can to bring hope and courage to those who do not have it. Let's see the more information about it. Have You Earned Your Tomorrow by Edgar Guest is a 4 stanza poem that is separated into sets of 4 lines or quartins. Here you can see every stanza consists 4 lines, or we can say quartins. Guest chose to confirm these quartins to a consistent rhyme schemes. The lines follow the pattern of AA, BB, CCAA, DDEE, FFAA. Immediately noteworthy is the repetition of the AY sound. That appears in the first, second, and fourth stanzas. It has been used repetitively in order to unify the text. The sound repeats just like the speaker's questions are rephrased in order to make a new impact. Both elements of the poem constantly press on the reader's mind. As a reader will immediately notice upon beginning Have You Earned Your Tomorrow that the text is marked by questions directed at the reader. Each stanza contains at least 2, sometimes 3 questions which probe at one's treatment of others. For example, in the second stanza, inquires into friendly greetings and kind actions, while the third is concerned the helping others and giving hope. The speaker's words are piercing, leaving no room for interpretation. Any reader who considers them, even briefly, will be challenged to analyze their own goodness. As we have seen, this is 4 stanza poem. It is separated into sets of 4 lines or quartins. Language is very simple and uplifting style. Which figures of speech has been used by poet in the whole poem? That are alliteration, repetition, and interrogation. Interrogation means asking questions. Alliteration means repeating of the consonant sounds, and repetition means the word is repeating in all over the poem. As we have seen, there are 4 stanzas. The rhyme scheme is AA, BB, CC, AA, DD, EE, and last stanzas FF, AA. The special features: this is an inspirational poem. Each stanza contains questions for the readers. The repetition of AY sound appears in the first, second, and fourth stanzas is in order to unify the poem. Improvement of human relationships is the focusing element in this poem. Now let's see the stanza wise explanation. We'll start with the stanza first. Is anybody happier? 2 words of you. This is a first stanza. In the first stanza of this piece, the speaker begins with a question. Of all the questions to come, this one is the most direct. It gets to the heart of what guest speaker is concerned with. He asks if today you, referring to the reader, made anyone's day better. He speaks abstractly about a hymn the reader might have passed and helped or made happier. The speaker purposely does not define what this means. It is up to interpretation, as it could mean any number of things. The question is followed by a second, then later a third. The second asks the reader if there was anyone you spoke to today who remembers you. Again, this question could mean anything. The most important parts of these 2 questions are the emphasis on unprompted kindness and the fact that it is now the end of the day. The hours are running out of you to make a positive impact. The speaker emphasizes this by asking if there is anyone to utter now a kindly word of you. Let's see stanza number 2, stanza number 2. It starts with did you give a cheerful greeting? It ends with you did today. The second stanza begins with another question. Here the speaker asks if any time during the day you greeted a friend cheerfully. Now the kindness is moving inward. The speaker is also concerned with how you treat those known to you as well. In the next lines, he presents the opposite and pushes the reader on their own selfish tendencies. Rather than a cheerful, heartfelt hello, the speaker asks if you were churlish or rude. This would also be marked by one's quick disappearance into the crowd and a rushing off to another task. It is clear the speaker feels disgust at the idea of treating a friend in this way. He says very clearly that it is a purely selfish way to be, as if he is hoping for the opposite response. He asks, or did you act differently, and is someone grateful for a deed you did today? Now we'll move towards third stanza. It begins with "Can you say tonight?" and end with "Look ahead." The third stanza begins with a longer question, probing into any help the reader might have given to a single brother. It is enough for the speaker if you were kind to one person out of the many that you passed. An action like this would be sufficient to have earned your tomorrow. It is important to note how this way of thinking is connected to a number of different religions and their dependence on good deeds. This is backed up by Guest's tendency to connect his themes to Christianity. In fact, God comes into play in the fourth stanza as one is forced to contend with how they lived. In the second half of the third stanza, the speaker uses courage and cowardice as tools to improve or worsen someone's life. He asks if there is one single heart that is now rejoicing due to your actions. Ideally, he would like there to be a man with improved hopes and reinvigorated courage to look ahead. Now it's a last stanza, fourth stanza. It starts with "Did you waste the day?" and ending part is "Work you did today." In the fourth stanza, the speaker states that any day not spent, at least in part, improving the lives of others is wasted. It is lost if it was sorely or badly spent. On the other hand, if it was well spent, there will be a trail of kindness making one's path through the day. The last lines tell the reader, if they are unsure how their day was spent, that they can close their eyes in slumber and think about what God would have to say to them. If, after considering the response of a God, a reader feels as if they have done well, then tomorrow is assured. Otherwise, God might look kindly on the actions or inactions of the day, and tomorrow might not come. This is all about the explanation of four stanzas. Now we'll move towards the values or morals of this poem. The moral is helping others is a fundamental part of humanity. This is a true and genuine way to feel better about oneself. Winston Churchill rightly said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." So, we have learned about the analysis of poem, poet information, poetic devices, then theme of the poem, and values and morals of this poem. Thank you, students. In this way, we have completed the literal meaning of the poem.